What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to get into the best places to live in Latin America for affordable luxury. And what affordable luxury is simply having a high quality life without having to pay those high prices. Because obviously, there are plenty of places with low costs of living, but oftentimes those places aren't safe, or you simply just don't get a lot of value for your money. So what if I told you there are places all over Latin America that you can live like a king or queen at a very affordable and attainable price point for the everyday person without having to sacrifice your safety? And in this video, I'm going to reveal where those places are. But first, make sure to smash that like button. It costs you nothing, means the world to me, and really helps me out with the algorithm. Now, thank you for doing that. I truly appreciate it. The cities in this list are going to be for everybody. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter if you're near retirement, saving for retirement, or in your prime working years. These cities are going to be a fit for nearly everybody. Now, obviously, these places are going to be a fit for nearly everybody because we're going to be taking advantage of geo arbitrage. The only real requirement is that you're making euros, dollars, or possibly Swiss francs or pounds. And it probably goes without saying, this is going to help you beat inflation, and it's also going to help you have your retirement last longer or save towards your retirement even faster. Because if you can get a higher quality of life while paying less, obviously that means you can put more money into savings or investments so that you can ultimately reach your financial goals faster. So with all that said, the primary criteria for this list is going to be, yes, cost of living, safety, and it's going to be ease of access in regards to visa options, residency options. Because it doesn't matter how inexpensive or affordable these places are or how great your life can be if they're hard to get access to and hard to actually go and live in these places. So that is another requirement for the places on these lists. Now, obviously, there are going to be varying degrees of ease of access, but if it requires $1 million investment, that's probably going to be a very large barrier to entry, so that's not a place that I would personally recommend. Now, the final thing I need to mention before we get into this list is in regards to safety. In a previous video, I mentioned how safety statistics aren't necessarily the most relevant and applicable to most foreigners who move abroad. I myself have been living abroad for nearly a decade now, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the safety statistics aren't going to be nearly as reflective as the actual boots on the ground experience. And here is how I will put it. So let's say you have a $1,500 budget for housing. So in San Diego, where I'm from, you're probably going to be in a very bad part of town if that is your budget. However, most of these places on the list, if you have a $1,500 budget, you're going to be in the best part of town. So although some of these places may rank lower statistically for safety, the parts of the city you're going to be frequenting are going to be much safer than the average place. In addition, a place like Mexico, most of the crime is going to be among people who are not doing great things. It's going to be among the cartels. It's not going to be among the average day person, especially when you get into the mortality side of things. So keep that in mind as we progress through this list. And we're going to start this list off with Nicaragua. Now, to be fair, I am mostly going to be comparing cities in these places, and they're going to be the most popular cities, and therefore they're probably going to be the most expensive. You can also obviously go outside of city centers. You can go to smaller cities to lower your costs. But if we want affordable luxury, in general, we're going to want to be in the prime locations, in the prime cities, because that's typically where the fine dining and the best housing and the best areas are going to be. So keep that in mind when I share these facts and data with you, that you could easily reduce these costs by going to less prime locations and less prime cities. Now, the average 3-bedroom apartment in the city center, in the heart of everything that's happening, in Managua, Nicaragua, $665 per month. Now, that is the average, so it certainly goes higher than that. But that's a good baseline for you to know. Now, the average 1-bedroom, heart of city, in the city center, all that good stuff, $250 per month. Now, a high quality, not the best restaurant, but good restaurant, for 2 people, 3-course meal, $30. Now, to give you some context, where I'm from, San Diego, California, $80 for that same meal. A 1-bedroom, $3,000 per month, and a 3-bedroom, $5,400 per month. So, like I was saying, if you had $665 to spend per month in San Diego, you're probably going to be in middle of a practical war zone. Now, you could go to a place like Managua, pay $665 a month, or maybe a little bit more. You're going to be closer to a luxury living lifestyle. So as I mentioned, the safety statistics aren't going to be totally relevant in these scenarios. Now, moving down the list, we have Chile, in particular, Santiago, where the average meal for 2 at a good restaurant, 3-course meal, once again, $54. 1-bedroom apartment in the heart of the city, all that good stuff, $500. And a 3-bedroom, $900 per month. Once again, still much better than San Diego, California, $5,000 per month. Now, obviously, I know not all cities are the same as San Diego, but this is a good reference point, and it is the reference point that I am personally using. Following Chile, we have Paraguay, which is arguably the most cost-effective place on this entire list. And it is also pretty safe as well. Most of these places in general, although I have given you safety disclaimers, are going to have either the same or lower homicide rates than cities in the United States, by the way. And another thing I should mention, all of this can change rapidly. For instance, Ecuador probably would have been on this list, I don't know, 2 years ago. But things rapidly changed in a place like Ecuador. Also, El Salvador. That place has rapidly changed. It's not personally on this list. It's actually one of the honorable mentions. But that's mainly because I simply just haven't spent enough time in El Salvador. And I would like to see what the trajectory of a place like El Salvador is before putting it on a list like this. You can see the first few places have been on an upward trajectory for multiple years, maybe with the exception of Chile, but it has only slightly decreased. So, Asuncion, Paraguay, the average meal for 2, same standards as before, $24. The average 1-bedroom, $422. The average 3-bedroom, $757 per month. Once again, this is in the city center, in the heart of things. You can obviously go outside of the city center, or to smaller cities, second-tier cities, and lower that cost even more. Now, I should also mention, these places also do have their pros and cons, whether that is taxes or whether that is weather in a place like Paraguay. Or some of these places may not be the most stable economies for locals, which is one reason I gave the disclaimer that you are going to want to be earning outside of these economies. And I should also mention, there are varying levels of infrastructure in these places. Paraguay, a little bit more rough around the edges than other places on this list, like Chile, and the place that I'm about to mention right now, which is Uruguay. Uruguay, pretty developed country, pretty solid infrastructure. It has a ton to offer, and it is relatively affordable. So Montevideo, you're going to be looking at $50 for a meal for a 2-person 3-course meal, same standards as previously mentioned. So I'm going to just stop saying that moving forward. I think you guys get the whole point. So $50 for a 2-person 3-course meal, $600 for a single bedroom apartment in the city center, and a little over $1,000 for a 3-bedroom apartment inside of the city as well. So even in a place that is seen as expensive for Latin America, that's 1/5 the cost of San Diego for a 3-bedroom apartment. And that's why I said this video is affordable luxury. And of course, you could not make an affordable luxury list without Panama City, probably one of the best cities in Latin America, one of the most developed cities, and it certainly has a very vibrant atmosphere. You've got to absolutely love Panama City, and if you haven't been to Panama City, I would highly, highly recommend taking a trip there. Now, with all that said, Panama City going to be on the more expensive end of the spectrum in regards to this video, but still great quality and very affordable overall. So you're looking at $60 for a 2-person meal, about $1,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment, and about $2,000 for a 3-bedroom apartment. Once again, Panama City, probably one of the more expensive places on this list, but Panama City, also a very vibrant and very well-known city. And it has connections to pretty much all over the world because it is so well known. It's also very friendly for tax purposes if that interests you. Next, we will go to Argentina. Specifically, we're going to talk about Buenos Aires, but this could easily be other places like Mendoza in the wine region. And this is where some of the safety things that I talked about really come into play. Yes, Argentina's economy is a roller coaster. It's constantly going up and down, up and down. You don't know what's going to happen. And they are currently trying to fix that problem. And it has caused a lot of local issues. And from what I've heard, it has caused an increase in crime. But here's the thing. If you're going to Buenos Aires or even Mendoza, you're probably going to be in a very safe and secure area that is somewhat isolated and protected from that crime that I just spoke about. But with all that said, you're looking at about $35 for a meal for 2 people at a pretty decent restaurant. A 1-bedroom, about $500 per month, and a 3-bedroom in the city center in a nice area, about $950 per month or so. Now, obviously, with the fluctuations in the currency there, that could rapidly change in the next 2 minutes or something like that because it is absolutely crazy. But as of now, it is extremely affordable, and you can live an extremely high quality life for a very, very affordable price. Then finally, we are going to wrap this list up with Mexico. So Mexico, obviously known for having some safety issues. It has, I believe, one of the highest homicide rates in the world, or at least Latin America. Don't quote me on that. Certainly other places in Latin America are higher, but I believe it's pretty high. And most of that is going to be because of cartel violence amongst the cartels. So it's not going to be applicable to your everyday life. I live in Mexico, I live in Portugal, I live in Asia. I feel perfectly safe in all of these places. I feel perfectly safe. Guadalajara, late night, doesn't matter. I walk around with my watch, my chains, and all that good stuff. No issues. Not saying that's something you should do, but I'm just sharing my experience. Never once had a single problem. But with that said, since I wanted to use primary cities, we actually went with Mexico City for this comparison. Now, the average meal in Mexico City for 2 people, about $56. The average 1-bedroom in the city center, a little over $1,000. And then the average 3-bedroom in the city center, around $2,200 per month. So certainly not the most affordable, but certainly way more affordable than San Diego. And once again, if you stretch that budget just a little bit, you can get into the nicest areas that rival many of the places in San Diego. Then some places that I wanted to throw on this list as honorable mentions are El Salvador, which I previously mentioned. Peru is another place that you should possibly look into. The Dominican Republic is another great option. And obviously it depends on what kind of climate you're looking for, what kind of lifestyle you're looking for. Because frankly, a place like Mexico City, on a cultural level, a food level, history, museums, art, and all that good stuff, events, is going to offer a lot more than a place like the Dominican Republic. So you also have to factor that in here as well. But with that said, Brazil, Colombia, they both have a lot to offer, although I have safety concerns primarily with Colombia, but to a certain extent Brazil as well. Brazil is a massive country, so that could really be broken down into different parts of Brazil, but that's certainly one place to look into. And you could even say the same thing with Mexico. Did you know that you could fit 30 European countries into the size of Mexico and still have room left over? That's just how massive Mexico is. So anyway, with all that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. It has gotten entirely way too long. So smash that like button if you haven't already. And comment down below and let me know your thoughts on some of these places. Are there any places you would remove? Are there any places you would add? What was your experience like in any of these places? Go ahead and share your experience and thoughts down below so that we can help as many people live the best life they can. Now, with all that said, I'm going to end the video here. And once again, thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time. And as always, peace, much love.